Hi everyone in English 2323. It's Dr. E and I'm here with your week 2 instructional video. Hopefully everybody has been able to stay safe and warm. Those of you who are at least in the area of this winter storm and its aftermath. Hopefully everybody's doing all right. Remember that there are resources to help if you need them, so just make sure you take a look at this announcement for a link if you need it. So let's go ahead and get down to what the expectations and assignments are for this week. So I'm going to hit the content area and go to the week 2 module. So this week you have some reading in our course text. We're reading about the Romantic period, as well as the biography and the poem The Mouse's Petition by Anna Leticia Barbald. Uh, it's in the science, speculation, and experiment section. I'll go over that in just a second. And I also want you to watch Chimamanda Adichie's TED Talk, which is called The Danger of a Single Story, which if you haven't already seen it, I mean, it's pretty popular. It's been around a while, but Adichie, who is a wonderful Nigerian author, really digs into this idea of what happens when we only have one side, right? When we only have one perspective, and the downfall or the danger of that, which I think is incredibly helpful as we move into our discussions and our readings about British literature, because you know I feel as though British literature is often held on this kind of pedestal, it's canonized, um, but there are so many literatures out there. And so, what we want to think about when we're reading these texts and these authors are the voices that we're not hearing or reading, right? There have been specific decisions made by those who have put together our course text. There historically have been decisions made. I mean, we're talking about a long history in a country, of colonization, of enslavement, of racism, sexism, misogyny, all of these kinds of things, which really affect, the kinds of authors that we can get our hands on these days, who was able to read and write at specific times. So I think Adichie's talk really gives us a great perspective to kind of start our semester. So I want you to think about those things as you watch her work. All right, so on Monday, excuse me, I want you to note that everything's available on Mondays. Sometimes it'll happen sooner. Things are a bit delayed because of the weather situation this week. But at the latest, you will have access to assignments and weekly videos by noon on Mondays. So if you wake up really early on Monday morning and get super jazzed and energized and really want to dig into the course and you don't see anything ready, please note that noon on Mondays is when it's like my deadline, right? Hopefully everything's there beforehand, and often it will be, but just know that. So on Monday, you're watching the instructional video. There is a course survey that's due on Sunday, and that link is down here. You'll want to set aside 10 to 15 minutes to answer those questions, and it's just information for me, and it just gives me a little bit of context, right? It lets me know what you as an individual student are going through, what you may need, just those kinds of details, again, only for me. So that's due on Sunday. There is a prompt for the discussion post, and that's due on Thursday. And then you also have a journal that's due on Sunday. So we're moving into a new assignment this week. All right, so you do have that discussion post, and I want you to note that there are no plus signs before or after the 10 points for those responses, which means it is a requirement, right? If you see those plus signs, that means it is bonus credit, it's not a requirement, but you are required to respond to at least 2 colleagues. You're welcome to respond to more. You also have a journal assignment that's due on Sunday, and your participation quiz. It's called participation quiz. It just shows that you've essentially participated in everything for that week, which means there are questions from like this video, from the assignments, from the readings, all of that good stuff. Okay, so if you scroll down, there is a link to the Remind app, which is optional. It's something where I don't require it just because, we have announcements through D2L. A lot of you just like to keep in touch that way. Some of you are parents and you have notifications from this school and this account. You have so many notification systems, and some of you for your jobs outside of school, you may just have enough, right? But some of you may want that additional step, and the Remind app is for that. So, for example, over the weekend, somebody got in touch with me through the Remind app to let me know that they were experiencing a power outage, just to kind of keep me apprised of the situation. That's kind of what the Remind app helps with. It's like a text situation. I may not respond outside of office hours times, but you are free to communicate that way. Here's a link to the Q&A discussion board where you can hop in, take advantage of that. You're watching what will appear here. Um, you also have a link to how to set up the Remind app if you have any questions or concerns about that. And then we get into the to-do section, right? So our discussion this week is going to be kind of connecting our reading on the Romantic era to Adichie's video. So what is the most important point Adichie makes in your opinion, and why? How does her video relate to our reading on the Romantic era? And I want you to really push for 2 paragraphs. Please put your name as the subject line, and of course pronouns if you choose. That just helps with the grading. And it also helps excuse me, ensure that your colleagues are referring to you by the name that you've chosen. So some of you in your introductions have said, this is my name, but some people call me this and some people call me that. I really want you to share what do you want to be called in this course, right? So put that as your subject line. And to do so, you'll just click Start a New Thread. All right, going back to our week 2 module, in the to-do area, you also have a journal that's due this week. So we will have a bit more detail and more specific guidelines in future weeks, but like I just want the beginning of our course to be kind of easing into things, right? So our journals are really a way for us to ensure that we are actively engaging in our reading, especially with a course like this and with a background chapter, which is what we're reading this week. It can be a lot. It's a lot of information. It takes a lot. Please don't sit and try to read everything at once. That's just setting yourself up for failure with a chapter like this because it's so heavy. Take breaks. Cut up the reading into different sections if you need to. But the journal is pushing for you to actively engage and to think about yourself, right? To think about your own reactions. So right while you're reading, I want you to think about what it would be like if you lived during this time period and you were an author, a poet, fiction, whatever you want. Okay. This is really important in terms of like thinking about your own identity, right? So you live during this time period, but what's going on at this time period? So for myself, I'm a white woman, right? So during this time, I might not have nearly the kinds of freedoms and possibilities or opportunities as white men at the time, but I certainly am going to have more than, women of color during this time period. I have to think about my identity when I'm thinking of this. I, as a white woman, would more than likely have more opportunities at least to learn to read and to have some, even if it's minimal, level of schooling, right? So think about those kinds of things. Again, thinking about Chimamanda Adichie's TED Talk, we have to think about the stories that aren't told just as much as the stories that we are reading, right? So, read through this. Let me know if you have any questions. I've given you an example of, how to kind of paraphrase in terms of, making those connections with our own experiences. When you're uploading a document in D2L, it has to be in a particular format. If you're using a Mac, I am an Apple user, you cannot upload a Pages document. Oh, forgive me. You can definitely upload a Pages document. It will not be viewable. It will not open for anybody. So I can't grade what I can't see, right? So make sure that you are following the guidelines in terms of submitting in Word format or PDF format. I also want to make a quick note to let you know that D2L, like most online learning platforms, can be very picky, very annoying. You cannot upload directly from something like Google Docs or Canva. So if you made a mind map, you cannot upload directly from those programs to D2L. So what I mean is when you go to click the upload document, you have to be able to find the document somewhere, right? So I always suggest that if you're using something like Canva or even Google Docs, just save it to your desktop so you can go directly and open it from there. The only other option for your student work is going to be OneDrive. And so what that means, I'm going to back out here. If you use something like Google Docs, then OneDrive is very similar. It's the same idea. It's a cloud service where you can, um, save your documents. You don't have the worry of a flash drive or anything like that. So if you go to our main course page, you have Microsoft 365 here, and there is a link to OneDrive. This is the same as Google Docs. It just lets you upload directly to D2L. If you have questions about this, you can go to the content area and to the D2L and tech help. And there are some how-to videos for Google Docs, etc., all of that kind of stuff. So just keep in mind that you have all of these features here. Okay, back to it. I got sidetracked. So you cannot upload directly from things like Canva or Google Docs. Just reminder. Okay. All right. So scrolling back down, that was the journal assignment. So you're writing about your own experience. This is pushing you to use the first person, which I know can be kind of a foreign concept. We're often taught never to write in the first person for academic writing, but I'm asking you to do that, right? You also have your week 2 quiz, which is based on everything from this week, readings, videos, everything. And then you have a link to the student survey here. If you don't sign in, which you absolutely do not have to sign in, you will not receive a confirmation when you've submitted the work. But more often than not, the work is submitted. And I'm going to keep an eye on it. I'm going to update those grades as I see them come in. Some of you have already completed the survey, which is awesome. Just take your time with it and know that it's information that will definitely help me. All right, that's everything this week. Oh, I did want to jump to the book information and additional readings because we do have our readings starting this week from our course text, right? So sorry. I'm very congested. Anyhow, the student book access is right here. If you click on it, this is what you should see. You're connected to the LMS. It'll say purchase options here. Ignore that. In order to get where we need to go, we're starting with the romantic period. You just click the romantic period, and here it is. And the way to navigate through the book is here with the table of contents, but you'll scroll down. It'll take you, this is like turning to the next page. You'll have page numbers here, but they also are referenced on the right-hand side, and you just scroll down, you'll get your timeline. Can listen as you read. This is a really nice, I think, online text. Some of them are not so great, but this is a really good one. Again, if you go to the table of contents, so like Anna Leticia Barbald's reading is not in the background chapter, the period introduction. It's not even in the section that's about her, which is a little frustrating. You need to go to Science, Speculation, and Experiment, click on the arrow to expand, and then you'll see Anna Leticia Barbald. Click on her name. You get a little bit of her biography, and then it will take you to the Mouse's petition. Again, this is one of those, our class I know is a little bit overwhelming as we start the semester, and even the online text is going to be overwhelming. Be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. Just take your time to click around and kind of learn where things are, but know that it'll take some time to get used to. Allow yourself a little bit of grace. I know it takes patience. So reach out if you need any assistance from me. You can always post in that Q&A discussion board, but I am here for you. Your colleagues are here for you. You've got this. All right, good luck this week.